Hey everybody, have you considered starting a podcast? Well, we here at Screwball highly recommend Podbean for getting your podcast out to a larger audience. Podbean has given us the ability to easily bring you Screwball each and every week on all of your favorite podcast services. Use the link podbean.com/screwball to sign up and save up to 35% annually. You can also use the link podbean.com/pro/screwball to sign up for a business subscription. Happy podcasting. Hey everybody, welcome back to Screwball, a baseball podcast, your home for everything baseball. I'm your host Mike Lepre, here with my co-host Frank White.
Hey, how's it going?
Now this is the last episode of our Around the Horn top 10 list for all players. We are concluding here with center fielders and right field, arguably probably the episode with the most talent in it. Next week, or in the next episode, we will be talking about managers and stadiums and uniforms, so it will be part of the top 10 list, but this is the last episode in our player top 10 lists for the offseason. So I'd say we're kind of going out with a bang here because these lists are absolutely unbelievable. You know, center field and right field has some of the top legends of the game, not even just, the top 10 throughout. Like the top 5 guys in both lists are unbelievable players. So let's just get right into it with center field, numerically 8 around the diamond. I'm going to go with my honorable mentions first in no particular order. I have 4 like I do every episode. In no particular order, I have Andrew Jones, Jim Edmonds, Fred Lynn, and Larry Doby. And all those are obviously great players. Andrew Jones, I think, is criminally underrated, in particular compared to a lot of these other guys that I'm about to name off or, are part of my honorable mentions. So to start off my top 10, I have number 10, Kenny Lofton. Number 9, I have Duke Snider. Number 8, Mike Trout. Number 7, Carlos Beltran. Number 6, Joe DiMaggio. Number 5, Tris Speaker. Number 4, Ken Griffey Jr. Number 3, Mickey Mantle. Number 2, Ty Cobb. And number 1, Willie Mays. I think a lot of these players in their order, it will not surprise a lot of people, and me and Frank do have a similar list for center field and right field. So I'm going to let him do his list so that we can kind of talk about both our lists. We do, like I said, have a lot of similarities. So I'm going to hand it over to Frank, and he'll give you his top 10.
Yeah, I mean, these are two of the best positions in baseball, the talent. Every position, obviously, we talk about some really great players throughout the list here, but you get to center field and right field. I mean, you're talking about probably 3, 4, 5 of these players are probably on the all-time top 10 list.
Oh, yeah.
Let alone just at their position. So my honorable mentions for center field. My first one's Richie Ashburn, Phillies, a good player. Carlos Beltran, another very good player and switch hitter. And, kind of did a lot of things. Larry Doby. Here's one. Here's one. Everyone look up. I always got a couple guys that throw on the list because they're ridiculous. Hugh Duffy. Go look up his stats. I believe he batted 440 one year. Yeah, he's 440. 440. 440 on 1 year.
Unbelievable.
So it wasn't just the 400 mark. It was the almost 450 mark.
Yeah.
On a single season. So that's that. Next guy I want to talk about, Hack Wilson. Everyone not everyone, but a lot of people kind of know Hack Wilson, the RBIs and all that. My next one, Dale Murphy, who was very good, played multiple positions, but mostly center field. Big guy.
Yeah, very underrated.
Stole bases, crushed the ball. I mean, everyone loved Dale Murphy.
Mm.
And my last one was Kenny Lofton, who you mentioned previous. My top 10 list to get into. Number 10, Andrew Jones. Andrew Jones, I don't understand why he's not, closer to the Hall of Fame and then eventually in the Hall of Fame. 10 Gold Gloves center field. One of the greatest defensive center fielders we've ever seen, if not the best. And smashed the ball. Had a bunch of home runs. He had 50 home runs 1 year. Did he take steroids? Did he not? People like to argue. Well, you can go in that with anybody. With Pudge, Piazza, Bagwell, all those guys. So why get into it with Andrew Jones more than anybody? Mm-hmm. But a dominant player. And defensively, he almost played infield. He played so shallow and just caught everything. Came up as like a 19-year-old and just dominated the game. He was fantastic.
Yeah, they always compare Andrew Jones' 19-year-old season to Mickey Mantle's 19-year-old season. They held him in that higher regard of 19-year-olds, like legends of the game. Yeah.
So I always liked Andrew Jones. I like defense. So I believe he should be at least better consideration. And he should be, right at the bottom of the list is fine.
Yeah.
Number 9, one of my favorite players of all time, Jim Edmonds.
Mm-hmm.
Another one of the greatest defensive, center fielders we've ever seen. some people like to say, oh, his range wasn't that good. That's why some of the plays he made, he had to dive for a ball that someone else maybe tracks it down. I get that, but the plays that he made were still ridiculous.
Yeah, he still made the play.
And he didn't lose much ground.
Hmm.
And he was very clutch. Very clutch. 393 home runs, 1,199 RBIs. He was like one of those guys almost. He was almost at a lot of stats.
Hmm.
I think he almost had 1,000 runs scored. I think it was like 992 or maybe it was 1,200 or something. But he was almost had a lot of stats.
I'll look it up real quick for you while you're going at it. He came 50 hits shy of 2,000. He came 7 home runs shy of 400.
Yeah.
He came 1 RBI shy of 1,200.
Mm-hmm.
And he was right peg at 1,250 runs. So there's 3 stats right there that just bump him up a little bit.
And I think even stolen bases he had a decent amount, right?
Stolen bases he had 67. But
okay,
I mean,
a little bit more than that. But you can see if he got to 400 home runs, if he got to over 2,000 hits, if he got to 1,200 RBIs, you're talking those are some nice round numbers.
he probably finds his way onto my list at least.
Yeah. And I said he was fantastic defensively in the diving straight back with the Angels, backwards and catching the ball, running up the hill and diving on the hill, at Taos Hill, Houston. Some of the plays he made were just ridiculous. He was just unbelievable in the outfield. I love Jim Edmonds, and a lot of other people like him too. And you see him on a lot of lists, at the bottom, but on lists. And that's why I got him number 9 here, and I loved him. So
Yeah.
Number 8, how could you not like him? Number 8, Kirby Puckett. Another one that might be surprise some people, but I'm one not to go with if he didn't have the problems, he had the eye problem and had to retire early. He still was great, and he still had great numbers even without it. He got in the Hall of Fame. I think it was like first or second ballot, I believe, even with the little bit shortened career. Robbing the home run with the plexiglass, hitting the walk-off home run in the World Series.
Yep.
Kirby Puckett was fantastic.
Yeah.
I believe he had like a career 300 average. Pretty well over, I believe. It was like 310 or 309.
318.
Yeah. That's well over.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Kirby Puckett was fantastic. He was a very good player. So I got him number 8 on my list. And he's one of the guys you just always love. And you wish he was able to kind of finish more of his career and then, have a after baseball life that kind of got taken from him. Number 7, I got Duke Snider. You had him on your list. Everyone has him on their list. Duke Snider was fantastic. One of the best Dodgers they ever had. I think really forgotten. I really feel like he's a forgotten player. You see Duke Snider, he's pretty good.
Well, look at the generation he played with. The other 2 center fielders that were playing with him.
Yeah, it's like, he was pretty good.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, he was really good. That's kind of Duke Snider. He kind of gets sandwiched. I feel like Duke Snider's kind of like Dale Murphy. You're like, really? He was a center fielder? Like Dale Murphy, like, really? He played center field? I'm like, I thought maybe left field, maybe like third base, something weird, But you're like, no, he played center field. That's what he did, and he hit the ball very far.
Yeah, he was very good. Yeah.
So, number 6, Joe DiMaggio. First thing everyone talks about, the 56-game hit streak, and almost trade with Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Joe DiMaggio, he speaks kind of for himself. Fantastic player, and one of the Yankee captains. He was his aura around him, and kind of his presence, almost was unworldly. His play was very good, one of the better players. But I feel like his off field made him almost even higher on people's lists.
Yeah, with Marilyn Monroe and
he just seemed like he was like a superhero to people.
Yeah, he was like I know you'll get to him, but he was like the Mickey Mantle before Mickey Mantle.
Yeah,
he was on that level.
Yeah, it almost made him like you almost want to rank him higher because you're like, how is he not?
Mm.
But you just want to look at his stats. You're like, he's really good. Like he's in the middle. He's 6th on my all-time list. But people thinking, you're like, how's he not like 3? Because you think off the field, you're like, this guy was a superhero.
Yeah,
he was Superman. So
he does have a bigger than life presence.
Yeah,
he's one of those guys.
Yeah. So, but number 5 on my list, Trish Speaker. Another one of them older guys who just slap base hits all over the place, and that's what he did.
Yeah, ridiculous stats.
Fantastic outfielder, fantastic center fielder. And again, he's just one of the older players who have stats that just don't make sense to anyone.
Yeah.
That's what he did, and he was great. Number 4, one of my favorite players. Again, I can say that about everybody you feel like, but he actually, really should be one of everyone's favorite players, and that was Ken Griffey Jr.
Unbelievable.
And he's one of the few guys I think everyone should say, and does say, if it wasn't for the injuries, we're talking 800 home runs, we're talking stolen bases, we're talking, 3,000 hits. maybe a World Series here or there. I mean, he was changing of the guards kind of player, where he was that, the mold was kind of breaking with some other players and being a little bit more flashy and fun and energetic. And then he came in and just shattered that right through the roof. And like, now we're in a new age. The backwards hat, the kid. Always be the kid. No matter what, he's the kid. He, home run derby off the warehouse in Camden Yards, it's like 700 feet. And, the catches, no, regard for his body. Jumping at Detroit, robbing the home run. And, some of the ones he made running and, just full stride catching, and then the Yankee Stadium one when he catches over.
Yeah, putting his foot on the wall and reaching how far over.
Yeah, perfect time. And the one where he broke his ankle and his wrist. There were 2 plays that he made where he just like shattered his wrist. He hit the wall, everything crunched.
Yep.
He just didn't care. He was that good. He was unbelievable. Sweetest swing, probably the sweetest swing baseball's ever seen, from the left side at least.
For sure.
And just a baseball lifer.
Mm-hmm.
Grew up with baseball. One of the big reasons Seattle Mariners were still playing in Seattle, him and Edgar Martinez, he was the one that scored.
Mm-hmm.
He ran from first to home in 1 second. He was just, the ball was hit and he was gone. He was at home already. He was fantastic. Speed, power, contact, average. He had like 50 home runs. I think the year that McGuire and Sosa in 98 hit 50 billion home runs, he was like 30, like 60.
Yeah,
he 59. Like no one even knows.
Yeah, he was right. He was at points in the season like right there with them.
He was neck and neck until they just continued, and not that he didn't continue because he had like 59 home runs or something. He just was like, I can't. What?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
Keep hitting these things.
Yeah.
But he had like what? What do you have a streak of 7 games in a row with a home run, or 8 games in a row with a home run?
Yeah, he came. What was it? Mattingly holds the record, or he tied with the record, or something like that, or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, he was unbelievable. And everyone liked him. Went to the Reds. The injuries really, I don't like to say that, but use that for where you could place him in greatness. But injuries really did hurt his numbers, because he would have been pushing number 1 all time.
Yeah, I mean he's a what if story with 600 home runs.
630 home runs and almost 3,000 hits and stolen bases and Gold Gloves, and it doesn't matter. It's what he did. He was fantastic.
Yeah,
and he was one of those guys where you could say, I mean, I don't think baseball, because I guess he was part. He's part of the '98 season that really saved baseball. He was one of those guys that kind of saved baseball. But he revolutionized the game.
Yeah, well,
He brought kids in because he was like, this is the guy. This guy's like backwards hat. He's his father played baseball, and now he's like in this energetic. He's changing the game. He's retro. He's like, he's breaking that mold, that retro mold. He was like, this is cool.
Yeah, and following the '94 season with the strike and everything, it was kind of like he helped with McGuire and Sosa.
Yeah, he helped push it along. I mean, obviously, I think Sosa and McGuire, they saved baseball themselves, but Griffey helped get to that point.
Yeah, sure.
And then helped push it farther after '98. And then steroids came, and he still was there, kind of pushing. So people still were like, we got Griffey, though.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
He was fantastic, and everybody had the glove. We had Ken Griffey Jr. in the glove. He had his own video game. I remember he wore the retro jerseys with the Mariners, and he was something else. He seemed like he was everyone's best friend, but he was like otherworldly still. But he was your best friend. Like you knew exactly who he was, and everyone he rooted for him. He was the kid.
Yeah,
he was like he was your kid, or he's your neighbor. Like you felt like he was in your neighborhood, and you always root for the neighborhood kid. That's how it was. But it's like you never knew him.
Yeah,
you never met him.
He's still the superstar, Ken Griffey.
But it was like that's my guy.
Yeah,
that's how Ken Griffey was. He was fantastic. I always loved Ken Griffey, and his defense was doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So keep going. I got number 3, Mickey Mantle. He was pretty good, they say. Switch hitter with the most home runs. Switch hitter.
Yeah, I think so.
A lot of grand slams. I think he still has the postseason home run record or World Series home run record. I think it's World Series home run.
Yeah, it's one of them. Yeah,
because he never played postseason games. Only World Series games.
That's true.
They get 19 of them or something crazy like that.
Something nuts.
Bunch of rings. Bad boy, really. People loved him, but he was really his off the field stuff really kind of hurt him at times and maybe shortened his career.
Yeah.
I mean, the injuries really shortened his career with the drainage pipe and the knees and the back and just crumbling. He was one kind of like Griffey, just ran the walls, stole bases. Didn't matter whatever he was going to do. Never missed games.
Yeah.
And then off the field stuff, I couldn't help.
No.
going out every night and doing his crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Some of his crazy stories he's got with the dugout and clubhouse in between games and in between innings, kind of like Dale Strawberry-esque. Dwight Gooden, but not quite.
Yeah, with the drinking.
Not illegal and whatnot, but they were doing
Yeah,
drugs, but
yeah, they were doing something else.
but yeah, he had some stories.
Yeah.
But he was like the bad boy that everyone loved in baseball.
Yeah.
He
Everyone
could
loved
do
him.
whatever he wanted. He could flip bats if he wanted, but no one was going to care. It was weird with him.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like to compare him kind of like to Dale Earnhardt with racing. He kind of was the bad boy. He kind of did what he wanted, but you're like, it's all right. It's Dale Earnhardt.
Yeah.
Like, he just crashed my car and spun me out of the race, but it's Dale Earnhardt. It's all right.
Yeah.
Like Mickey Mantle. It's like, yeah, sure. He just, threw the ball at my head and threw his bat at my head. It's Mickey Mantle, all right?
Yeah. Still hitting 60 home runs.
Sure. He's hammered. He just should have hammered to the game and just hit a home run. It's Mickey Mantle. Mickey Mantle. We just let him do what he wants.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's Mickey Mantle. That's right. So that's how he was. He was like you said with DiMaggio, larger than life.
Yeah, he was.
But he was like the bad boy version.
Mm-hmm.
But they loved it anyway.
Yeah, he wasn't as refined and clean cut as DiMaggio was.
Yeah.
But I mean, my dad's his favorite player of all time, and I'm sure a lot of people in that generation grew up with Mickey Mantle.
That was my dad's favorite player.
So you know what I mean? The kids that grew up with him, he was like for this generation, for our generation, like Derek Jeter, and maybe even Trout now would be.
Why people didn't want, Maris. Like, we want Mantle to do it. Because Mantle's the guy. Who's this Maris guy? It's like, Mantle's the guy. We love Mantle. He was awesome. He did everything. Stole bases, crushed the ball. He hit the ball to the facade, they said. Had some of the quotes, some of the stories. He always had something going on. And I feel like when how important he was to people because, when he passed, it was like a silence and it was on, TV all the time and his services were on. Kind of like Kobe. Kobe Bryant.
Mm-hmm.
It was like this guy, he was...
Yeah, it was big.
He meant a lot to a lot of people, to everybody. So that's kind of how Mickey Mantle was. He had that thing, and he was, obviously taken pretty early compared to where he could have been. Another 30 years you're talking. He could have been into the 2000s. Could have really helped push baseball along, like Ted Williams.
Yeah,
he could have been right there with Ted Williams, kind of pushing baseball along. But,
sure. Yeah.
It happens. But Mickey Mantle was fantastic, and his importance to baseball.
Yeah, it can't be understated.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
One of those true superstars of baseball on and off the field, which baseball's looking for now. They got people on the field, but they feel like they can't market the guys somehow.
Yeah.
That's what they're trying to push for.
And the same thing was the guy right before you talked about, Ken Griffey, was the same way. Ken
Griffey, they hit it out.
Yeah.
They hit that with the video games, the retro mode. They figured it out somehow. I think he just did it himself because it was Ken Griffey.
Yeah. But it's like you don't, there's a lot of players now, especially Trout, that have the potential for that, and they just don't.
They don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
How did we do it with them?
Yeah.
They just did it themselves. Like,
I don't know.
It's like, Trout, go out at night and get drunk or something.
Yeah, do something nuts.
Yeah. So I got Mantle on number 3, and it's hard to take these other two guys off. Number 2 is Willie Mays. That's fine. It's Willie Mays, the Say Hey Kid and all the home runs and 3,000 hits, whatever. He did everything.
Yeah.
He did whatever he wanted.
Yeah, he literally did everything.
He did whatever he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to steal, hey, steal. He wants to hit a home run, I'll hit a home run. I'll bet 340. It doesn't matter. Catches the ball, pull around, 700 feet, catch it. I think the more impressive part of that I really do, is when he turned around through the ball. He's got like 400 feet back to second base.
Absolutely. On a back foot, just whipping the ball.
Yeah. He was, fantastic player all the way around and just did whatever. And he just put people in a shadow, like Duke Snyder or Willie McCovey. You're like, what? Who's that? It's like that guy who hit like 40 home runs and you don't even know his name because it's like, well, is he Willie Mays? No.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah, the song about him. I mean, come on now.
Yeah, it's Willie Mays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say hey.
I don't know what else you want. It's Willie Mays. Willie Mays is one of the greatest players of all time, and it's hard to believe you get number 2. You're like, who the hell's number 1?
Yeah, well,
number 1's Ty Cobb. And that's just how it is. 4,200 hits or what do you have?
He had
4,100 hits.
41.89.
Yeah, 41.89. That's good.
What, you want to guess his batting average?
What was it? 344 career average, right?
366.
Sure, that's not bad.
No.
All these home runs, even though he never hit the ball over the fence. Hated Babe Ruth. Sharpened his cleats. He wanted to slide into you. He would never slide head first. Why would you ever thought about it? You had cleats that were like spikes. They were just gonna stab you, and that's just how he did it. He just hit all the time, but every day. Mean look on his face. and his batting stance was all over the place. Hands up the bat. Who the hell knows what he was doing?
Mm-hmm.
But he was going to get 70 hits every day. Because it was Ty Cobb. He was, and he hated Babe Ruth. I think he felt overshadowed.
Yeah.
Babe Ruth. He was like, "How is this? Why? Why is this guy, this big fat guy, coming in and smacking the ball? And I'm batting 364 or 366 in my lifetime here, stealing 1,000,000 bases, hitting 1,000,000 triples, and doing all these crazy things. And he's coming in and hitting a home run, but he's cool with me."
Mm-hmm.
He hated that.
Yeah, he did hate that.
And he didn't like the commissioner at the time either, which he didn't like anybody.
No, no.
He was one of the first induction members of the Hall of Fame.
He was part of the first class. Yeah.
And he almost turned it down. Essentially, he's like, "I'm not going in with Babe Ruth, and I'm not going in with that commissioner." And they had a photo, the Hall of Fame photo. Everyone's seen it, the Hall of Fame photo, the induction class. That took a while to get him in. He's like, "I'm not getting the photo."
What was it Kennesaw Mountain Landis was the commissioner you're talking about?
I believe so.
Yeah.
He didn't like him, and he hated Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
And he's like, "I'm not getting the photo." And they're like, "You gotta get the photo." And they're like, "I'm not getting in." And it took a while to finally get him in. And I believe you look at the photo, I believe they're kind of pretty well separated in the photo. I think he ended up getting stuck kind of near Babe Ruth. He didn't like because of the players thing. I don't know how it went, but he just didn't want to be in the photo. He's like, "I hate that guy."
Yeah, I know the quotes in hindsight, looking back on the quotes, I always remember the one with Babe Ruth. If I went for all those dinky singles, I'd
bet 500.
Yeah.
If I bet 500, I went for dinky singles.
Yeah. I always loved the back and forth they always had.
Yeah, and Cobb's like, anyone could swing for the fences or something like that.
Yeah. The back and forth, like I said. It looks like in the photo, Babe Ruth's up front next to the commissioner, of course. Even though actually the commissioner did, pretty sure he disciplined Babe Ruth quite a few times, and I believe Cobb's right there too, not looking.
Yeah, well, there you go.
In the picture, I don't think he's looking.
Where is he?
Oh no, there's two pictures. There's one he's looking, one he's not.
Where is he? Near him?
He's on the commissioner separating them. It looks like. I believe that's Cobb because they're a little older, but it does look like him, so it's got to be him. But yeah, the commissioner separating them.
Yeah. He just didn't like. He wasn't. Not that he hated the commissioner. I don't think that's how it was. He hated Babe Ruth.
Oh yeah. That's.
I think Babe Ruth struck him out when he used to pitch.
Yep.
It's a rivalry that really should be. There should be movies and documentaries about it. That probably is, but there should even be more because it's just they hate each other and they were two just complete opposite people.
Yeah, they were.
One was like the greatest player that no one liked and no one even cares about, and then one was like the greatest player that everyone loved.
Yeah, he was Superman.
Yeah.
Back then.
And it was just but Ty Cobb's stats, I mean, ridiculous. I don't got to talk much more about him, but to be the number one center fielder of all time is goddamn impressive.
Yeah.
With some of these guys, and he's on it. I'd never really questioned who my number one was with this. I'm like, yeah, those guys could be there, but I'm like, it's Ty Cobb because it's Ty Cobb.
Yeah. I mean this list is insane. I mean, I got Willie Mays above Ty Cobb, but I mean, go on. I'm not going to complain about Ty Cobb being number one or Willie Mays, or hell, even if you're a super Mickey Mantle fan, you put him first because he was a switch hitter. It's like, well, I'm not going to agree with you, but it's not like Mickey Mantle's a bad choice.
Yeah.
But all these guys.
Yeah, you could put Ty Cobb too, and you'd be underrated.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's hard to believe.
Yeah.
You put him at one, you almost feel like that's not right.
Yeah.
He's like, there should be something else.
Yeah, all these guys' stats are ridiculous. Even Ken Griffey, Tris Speaker, go look up his stats too. And what?
Look at Hugh Duffy.
Oh, I know.
Honorable mention. No one even knows he batted 440 one year.
Yeah.
440. I mean, there's guys that just up and down. I mean, these positions are so deep, and just this was where your team was. So let's get one of these guys, one of these good. Let's get a center fielder, or a right fielder, and we'll have the rest of it will make up. But we get one of those guys, we're settled. That's for the next 10, 15 years, we're good.
Yeah. And I want to kind of put some little note next to I have Trout on here, you don't. But that's not you saying that you don't like Trout. I think that Trout, putting him at number 8 already may be a little high for some people, but I think that if he continues on the path he is, I think he'll probably be a top 5 center fielder of all time. Obviously he's only 30, was he like 30, 31, something like that? I don't even know how old he is anymore.
He's
29 maybe?
20. I think he's going into 29
okay.
season, I think.
So he's about 30. He's kind of at what you would hope to be his prime years, like real prime years. And you never know, the next day he could come out and God forbid something were to happen, he'd get hurt and he'd have to sit. His career could be different. But if he continues on this trajectory, I do believe Mike Trout he could bump Tris Speaker off and it'd be Trout, Griffey, Mantle, Cobb, Willie Mays, whatever, the
Sure.
top 5. I mean, I think that Trout is that good, and I do like Trout that much.
Yeah.
And you already see him on some top 10 lists.
Yeah.
So
I try avoiding putting active players on,
Mm.
especially when they're still like in the midst of their career. Like Ichiro. I mean, even if he was still playing, he would be at the end. He'd just be playing a little bit.
Mm.
You kind of know his career. He's at the end. It's hard to put someone on him when their career still happening because they could just be shut down right away.
that's, yeah.
His career could end tomorrow if he wanted to. Maybe he would just retire out of nowhere, and that's just it. His stats are like, was he still up there? Well, stats don't compete, and so it's hard for me to put these active players, especially at a position like this. Same when you had Kershaw with the starting pitchers.
Mm.
It's how those players are. There's 50 of them that you could put there. Not that he doesn't belong there or he won't go there.
Mm.
Just there's 50 of them that you could put there. Those careers are wrapped up. They're done.
Yeah.
They're boxed in. So that's why it's hard for me to put Trout on there because it's like he's not done yet. So it's like you can rank him 8, but what if he came out? What if there was on steroids? Well, or what if he stopped playing? Or what if he played 20 more years and he had 4,000 hits? And you ranked him 8.
Mm.
So it's hard to put someone who's actively in the prime of their career.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I just think that I think he's an outlier. I mean, obviously Kershaw I do think is a little bit of an outlier too. But even Kershaw's a little bit older, so he's kind of getting to the twilight of his career, I think. Where Trout is actively still, like I said, he's like kind of your prime years are kind of in your between 27 and 32. They always say are kind of your prime years.
Yeah, yeah. And then obviously the lack of playoffs so far in his career. I mean, but that's not his fault. But
No.
people do look at that. But yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna argue that you can't put him there.
Yeah.
It's just I try not to with active players too much because, like I said, there's just so much that could still happen.
Yeah, God forbid something were to happen. Hopefully not, because he is like one of my favorite players right now. But
Oh yeah, he's one of the great. He's one of the best in the league right now, and one of the best we've seen in a long time.
yeah, and he's from Jersey, so I mean, hey, it's a little bonus for us.
Yeah.
But that's our center field list. I mean, just unbelievable guys. If you were keeping track, we do have the same top 6 with the exception of Willie Mays and Ty Cobb being flip-flopped at the top. But, I mean, that could go either way. So, a lot of similarities there. I think you're going to find some similarities here on a right field list, too. And I think that for a lot of people, the right field and center field, the top 5, top 6 areas, kind of like in cement and in stone.
You hear the name, like, yeah, that's fine. That's
Yeah.
how it is. That's just what happens.
Yeah, that's just about right, yeah. And I think it is kind of serendipitous that we're talking center field, right field. The unfortunate passing recently of Hank Aaron. You are definitely going to hear his name in these lists. Spoiler alert. But I'm just going to get into my right field list here with my honorable mentions. Again, I have 4 in no particular order. My 4 honorable mentions are Vlad Guerrero. Vlad Guerrero Sr. was just unbelievable, and even upon reflection on his stats, he didn't quite make the top 10, but he had some pretty damn good stats in his career. After him is Larry Walker, Dwight Evans, and Dave Winfield. All these guys, I mean, those are your honorable mentions. You already know you're in for it with the list.
I'll take any of those honorable mentions on my team, but that's fine.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine with me. And the same goes for my number 10 here is Ichiro, who, I mean, I had a hard time. I love Ichiro. I mean, how can you not grow up in this generation watching baseball and not love Ichiro?
He's got one name.
Yeah, I don't have Suzuki on here. I just have Ichiro.
No, I don't either. It's just Ichiro. I have baseball cards that say Ichiro. It's like, what's his last name? Don't matter.
Yeah, it don't matter. It's
Doesn't
just
have
Ichiro.
a last name. It's just Ichiro. All right,
Yeah.
that's fine. And everyone just accepted that. That's Ichiro. All right.
Yeah. I mean, over 3,000 hits. I talked to Frank before this. If they were ever to put in all the Japanese stats, which I don't think they will, nor should they, but say 50 years down the line, some maniac commissioner comes in and is like, hey, Japanese stats, they count. He would be the top hit leader. So that didn't factor into where I put him in the top 10, but if that were to happen, he would move, obviously. I'm just going to give that little caveat. But number 10, Ichiro, he's got over 3,000 hits. Not a crazy amount of home runs. His WAR and stuff dipped off towards the end of his career with like everyone else, but overall, just still a high WAR, high hits, high average, stolen bases. He's got a bunch of records, and he came into the league at a little bit of an older age. So imagine,
28.
Imagine if he came in when he was, say, even just 22 or 23 or something.
And he won Rookie of the Year, MVP, and broke the hits record.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
in his first year.
Yeah, I mean, he came on the scene, and his defense is unbelievable. That throw, the quote where the announcer, he threw something out of Star Wars where the ball just kind of floated all the way to third base.
Yeah, for a little guy.
Yeah, he wasn't a big imposing guy.
Jump on the fence, like
Yeah.
like jumping on the fence brought that to like the MLB where like you jump on like the top of the fence.
Yeah, the Japanese players like to do that.
Yeah, and then the batting stance you can't you can imitate, but you can't imitate the way he moves his feet and hit the ball, and the shortstop backhanded the ball, it was a hit. I mean that's just how it was. You could play in as a third baseman, he'd bunt to hit. If he wanted to, he'd just jack up and hit a home run. So he said he could just hit a home run pretty much whenever he wanted to. He was just something else.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, how can you not love Ichiro? I mean, a lot of people are hopefully listening to this and have grown up in this generation and watched him throughout his career. I mean, he was always fun to watch, always. And I loved when even though it was at the end of his career, I liked seeing him in pinstripes just to have a little, a little bit of love for the Yankees there.
Yeah. And he was fantastic ambassador for the game. His regimen is just ridiculous. He used to have the same exact regimen. He'd go to the same place at the same exact time. He was just fine-tuned. He took care of his bats. They had the humidifiers for his bats, which I think he broke one bat or slammed a helmet one time, and he was very upset about it. And
yeah, it was like a big respect thing. I think a lot of Japanese players are actually like that with their equipment. It's very like sacred. You don't damage your equipment.
He always hustled. I believe it was his 11th at bat in his career. He got over the 300 mark, and he was never under the 300 mark for lifetime average. I believe it was his 11th at bat.
Yeah, something like that. I did see that stat.
He loved the pitch too. He never got a chance in the MLB other than once, one inning. But he was just fantastic, and he was an ambassador for the game, and he was just amazing. Just give him just came in the league 3 years less. 3 more years added to his career. I mean, whew.
Yeah, imagine.
He was fantastic.
Yeah.
He was fantastic. Ichiro was unbelievable. And he'll never be another Ichiro. So I don't care what you say. I never want to ever hit like that where you're moving the feet, slapping the ball, and you still hit it 400 feet, and you can just do what you want. And he'll just fight pitches off. Like, he would just see the ball and be like, I'm just going to foul this one. I'm just going to foul this one. I'm just going to foul this one until he messed up. And he'd be like, oh, here's a base hit.
Yeah. There's a base hit up the middle.
And then just do his thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's unbelievable. And, again, like I said with this list, that I got him at number 10 is you already know you're in for it.
Yeah, and I believe his 3,000 hit was a triple.
Yeah, it was.
Colorado.
What was he, like the second player to do that or something? Wasn't it was it Biggio that did it, or who else had a triple for their it was someone like that. He was like the second player to ever do it as a triple or something like that.
Yeah.
Kind of like how, what was it, Jeter and A-Rod were like the second and third players to ever hit a home run for their 3,000.
Boggs hit the home run for
Boggs,
3,000,
yeah.
I know. He also, he said very good in the outfield. I think he led the league in like assists or double plays. He was just, there was something about Ichiro just was like, this isn't right. This guy's just not right. It's not fair what this guy does. Man, he had some quotes, and he was a funny guy, and he was like a machine. Yeah, I don't know. He was just something about Ichiro, but just doesn't sit right with you. Like, this guy is, what is going on here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd be hard pressed to find a baseball fan that was like, man, I don't like Ichiro. Like, oh, okay, what's wrong with you?
like I don't know. He was unbelievable. He could still probably play. I'd take him.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
But he's at my number 10, and above him, we considered this man for right field, even though you probably could have moved him into center field if you wanted to, but Andre Dawson. Andre Dawson had an unbelievable career, most notably Expos and Cubs. I don't know if he maybe a year or two somewhere else, but in my head, Cubs and Expos is kind of where I always sit in my head with him. Yeah, just a great outfielder, speed, power, average, the whole, high, pretty solid WAR, all things considered with this list, which was nice too. I think he probably would have higher than 9. He probably would have been higher than 9 on my center field list, but right field is a little bit loaded, so I got him at number 9. Right above him at number 8 is Reggie Jackson. Kind of, I guess you could consider, especially for people that watched him play, that were alive to watch him play, Reggie Jackson, a little bit of a polarizing player. The whole no hustle thing, a lot of strikeouts.
Love or hate.
Yeah, you do love or hate Reggie Jackson. My dad wasn't exactly the biggest fan of him, but he was a Yankee, so he was like, all right, he's helping us, Especially because him and Thurman Munson would get into it. I know a lot of people like Thurman, so a lot of people didn't. If you like Thurman, you didn't like Reggie.
Billy Martin got into everybody.
Oh, yeah. But Reggie Jackson, a lot of home runs, iconic, look. You kind of always, you could pick out Reggie Jackson on the field.
Glasses. Yeah. The nerd glasses cool.
Yeah, with the big hair. I mean.
And the big beard and just the curl beard and hair and the big nerd glasses. And it's like, who's this nerd? And he comes up, hits the ball 500 feet. Like, all right,
yeah. Hitting the ball on the transformer, when he was with Oakland.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was unbelievable. Not obviously not the best fielder. That's not exactly why you signed up with Reggie Jackson. It was his bat for sure. Iconic World Series moments. Yeah, just he's an icon of the game for sure. Love him or hate him. Right above him at number 7, I have Al Kaline, a guy that initially, unless I guess you're a fan of Al Kaline, watching play, or fan of the team or whatever, but his stats are pretty unbelievable. If you're not, when you think of Al Kaline, you may not initially.
You don't think of his stats.
You don't quite.
He's pretty good, but you're like, where's the stat that says he's really good?
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're saying.
But when you look at him, you're like, whoa, okay. In hindsight, he probably could have even went up my list a little bit, but I still like him at 7 for me, for my list personally. Really, another guy, high WAR. The guys back then, for some reason, just had an astronomical WAR. The guy at the top of this list does, for sure.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, Al Kaline, fantastic player. If you're not really overly familiar with this guy, I would go look at his stats for yourself and kind of learn about him a little bit. He's fantastic. At number 6, I got Tony Gwynn. I mean, wait, what do you want me to say about Tony Gwynn?
Oh, Tony Gwynn.
I mean, unbelievable player, unbelievable hitter.
It just makes you smile. And you see his name, it just makes you smile.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
Tony Gwynn.
yeah.
He's incredible.
It's a shame we lost him.
That was a tragedy.
Yeah.
Sure.
Tragedy to the game, to the Padres.
At such a young age.
Yeah,
You
that's
lose everybody at some point. But I mean, you get into the 80s or something like that, but you lose somebody in their 50s.
Yeah, especially someone like him,
That's
where
just-
it's so much more to give to the baseball
my God, He
world.
was still coaching.
Yeah.
In his own college, or one of the colleges he went to, San Diego or San Diego State or something. He just lost so much, and he would have much appreciated what the Padres have now.
Oh yeah.
He would have loved it.
Oh, imagine
kind of
him.
what the Royals. Remember when George Brett was there and they kind of won? And he was like,
Yeah, it was
he
more.
felt good because he was like, I remember when they were good, but the Padres were never really like that other than when Tony Gwynn a couple of years. So it's like he would have really meant a lot to him to be like.
Yeah, because they went to the World Series in '98 and obviously ran into the '98 Yankees. So that, how that happened.
That was kind of it.
And that was their only at least World Series run. Obviously, they had good years. They had a few years back. They made a flurry of signings, didn't really work out. Then they went back to kind of being a meddling team in the middle and the bottom, and now they're kind of back again. So, yeah, like you said, it would be nice to have him around to kind of see this. I believe it was cancer kind of from the dip, right? There was the chewing tobacco.
Yeah, chewing tobacco and stuff like that. Really, there's always some sort of silver lining with everything. And he kind of pushed forward getting rid of that.
Yeah.
And stop memorializing that for the younger people and stuff like that. And people will watch the game. So if you want to take any silver lining out of any situation, is always one. I guess that's it. But I mean, geez, Tony Gwynn was. He was actually him and Ripken were inducted on my birthday in what was that 07?
Mm-hmm.
The Hall of Fame. So that was always cool, and I always loved Tony Gwynn. So seeing that, I mean, Ripken was cool too. Don't get me wrong, but Tony Gwynn, I always loved Tony Gwynn. So
Yeah.
I seen that, I was like, good.
Well, he's like not obviously not exactly like a player like Ichiro, but hitting wise, both those guys could just put the ball anywhere they wanted on the field. It's almost like some really good.
It's Rock Road, like we said last week. It's Rock Road and Tony Gwynn. They're the same person. Whatever.
Yep.
Just let them get their hit because we're not gonna stop them. Just whatever.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
go to first.
Yeah, he was one of my favorite players of all time, like just personal favorites, regardless of his stats. I know he is for you too, so obviously I had to put him towards the top here. And his stats speak for himself. I mean, 3,000 hitter and high average, and
as a young guy, he had that great mustache and the curly hair, and he was a flyer. He'd fly around the bases.
Yeah.
Oh man, fantastic.
yeah, obviously towards the end of his career wasn't quite the flyer.
No.
Fielding wise, I mean, it's not what you like I said with Reggie. It's kind of like not what you signed up for getting Tony Gwynn, but he held his own, especially earlier in his career.
Yeah. I mean, when he was done and he had and he passed away, they put his number behind shortstop.
Yeah, because
every hit was there.
the 5-hole.
He was just like Carew. It was like if you took one step to the left, he was gonna hit it one step to the right. One step to the right, he was gonna hit one step to the left. You move
Yep.
one step in, he was gonna hit one step over you. That's what he did. He was just that great.
Yeah.
Being able to place that bat and just slap it. No steroids. Not even close. Don't even try arguing with it.
Mm-hmm.
He was just that good all the time, and that's just who he was.
Yeah, got to give it up to him. Another guy that our generation kind of grew up with. I do remember him playing a little bit. So I mean, and maybe if you're a little older than we are, you obviously remember him growing up.
I think quickly, so can move on. I think Tony Gwynn could have really had an impact like Joe Morgan did, where he could have done the announcing and really just had a whole nother career where you're like this guy is even great as an announcer, and it made you just help push baseball into a more popularity.
Yeah.
Just being an announcer. I don't know if Tony Gwynn would ever announced, but he could have had that effect where it's like, this is Tony Gwynn.
Yeah.
Like you could have had that Ted Williams All-Star game where it's like he's on the field and everyone kind of knows, this might be the last couple of years when he's older. It's like you could have had that with Tony Gwynn. That's how important he was.
Yeah.
And he would have been able to help turn baseball from this home run. Like, guys, just slap the ball. He would have loved LeMahieu. He would have been like, we got to get back to this.
Not strike out as much, and there's some famous stats with him with striking out. I'm pretty sure too.
Maddox, Glavine, Smoltz never struck him out.
Yeah, yep.
I mean, he's like a 342 hitter or 322 hitter against Hall of Fame pitchers.
I don't know. Yeah,
something ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just like, that's what I do, and there was no problem with him. He just did it all the time.
Yeah,
always smiling. Obviously had the dip in, so he always had the big lip.
Yeah,
he was iconic look.
Yeah. I hope that he don't. I don't think he'll ever be kind of not forgotten, but like kind of when you talk about right fields, maybe hopefully he doesn't kind of get a little shoved to the side because he really is one of the best.
And if he would have been on a different team, just saying, he would be even higher up this list because people were like, that's Tony Gwynn. With the Padres not being so good, if he would have got shoved to a different team somewhere down the line, you never know. If he was with the Dodgers, are you kidding me?
Oh my God, yeah.
Or he's in New York or Boston or something. Well, Boston with that monster, oh my God, he would have batted 400. He would have batted 450.
100%.
Yeah, so it's Tony Gwynn, though. Fantastic.
So having him at 6, you know how good these top 5 guys are that I got. But number 5, I got Mel Ott. A guy that, kind of like I said with Al Kaline, it's like, I don't know how many people really know Mel Ott's stats. Even I'm not overly familiar with his stats, but after looking at it, I mean, over 100 career WAR, which is good enough for some positions to be the best player at a certain position. So the fact that he's at 5, over 500 home runs, I believe, a lot of hits, high RBIs and runs. Guy is just unbelievable, and he's a guy that if you're not maybe a student of the game for the older players, I should say, definitely look at Mel Ott's stats because he was unbelievable.
Yeah, I believe he came as a teenager as well.
Like a 19-year-old, 18-year-old, or whatever.
He was one of the first ones to ever really do that.
Yeah, actually, I think you're right. Yeah, which is another.
I should say.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's a bunch, but he came right in. It was like, this is like the best player in baseball.
Yeah, there's a lot of there's that like exclusive club of the 19-year-old, stat club.
Hit this many home runs before you turn 20, and all those stats like Ken Griffey was chasing, and we've seen Harper and Soto.
Yeah,
you see those lists, you see Mel Ott on there, and there's a reason why.
Yeah, he just happens to be on all those stat lists. He may not be quite towards the top, but he's always on there.
Yeah, he's always at the top 5 or so at least because he was that good all the time.
Yeah. Number 4, right above him, I got Roberto Clemente.
Yeah,
he was all right. I always remember Clemente's stats. He had exactly 3,000 because he unfortunately passed before he could get any more. We have a whole award named after Roberto Clemente. Just a great person. Really helped push the game forward with diversity.
Humanitarian.
Yeah, humanitarian person. I mean, just you could go on and on about the person Roberto Clemente was, but as a player, unbelievable hitter, unbelievable arm he had. If you go look at some old clips of Roberto Clemente, he had a absolute cannon in right field.
He had the one in right field. You see, he throws all the way home. Mm-hmm. Catcher catches it, and when Scully, what his quote was, he could throw somebody out in Brooklyn from Manhattan or wherever the hell.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Vince Scully has the famous quote that everyone loves Roberto Clemente with.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, another one. I mean, of course. So we lost a lot way too early, even into his baseball career. He lost numbers because of it. But it always seems. I always said this with any sport. It just seems like the bigger you are, named a legend, somehow it just seems like they always get stricken and taken away from the game and the world early. It always seems the only few kind of slip through the cracks. And hey, we've seen Hank Aaron, 86 years old. You're like, okay, Tommy Lasorda, we lost him, But you see, still see Bill Russell kind of, in basketball. But like you see there's all these names. You're like, you lose them so early.
Yeah.
It's like weird how like if you could be such an unbelievable player and the greatness to the game and in the world, and you lose. It's like why?
I know it does suck.
It's like why? Yeah. It's like why did we have to lose Kobe Bryant at 40 years old? And Mickey Mantle, and Tony Gwynn at 50 years old. It's like why?
Kirby Puckett.
Because they're legend. Because they're legends. It's like
Yeah.
you just had to lose them. That's just weird.
Yeah, it is weird. The only the good die young thing. It sucks to lose guys like that. We lost even more recently earlier in the career, but like Jose Fernandez, who knows where he would be, and guys like that where you lose them early, and there's just so much potential, even if they're not maybe like a top 10 player at their position or something, but maybe they're a manager down the line, or they're in part of baseball at some point. It just there's so much there that left.
If it's in their career, I mean, it's even it's awful. I mean, after their career though, it's so much they could still give. Like we've seen with Ted Williams, it's a great example. When you have these legends, Ted Williams was a legend, was one of the greatest players ever play. He made it to a lot of years after baseball. He was able to just pass the game and just go. We lost that with Gwynn and Roberto Clemente and Kirby Puckett, you mentioned. Even Mickey Mantle had some years he missed out there. It's just a real shame that you lose some of these guys like that.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable how it all works out.
Yeah. But, I mean, Roberto Clemente, just like you said, shame we lost him, but an unbelievable player at the time we did get with him. And his legacy obviously goes on in baseball today. We're right above him at number 3. I got Frank Robinson. I think actually a little bit forgotten player. He kind of gets lost in the shuffle for some reason with conversations. But you go look at his stats. I believe he's the first player to have the MVP award in both leagues. 500, almost pushing 600 home runs, I believe. Pushing 3,000 hits. I think that might be a lot of the reason he gets a little bit lost in the shuffle is because he didn't quite have the 3,000, he didn't quite have the 600.
I believe he was also the first African-American manager. He was a player manager, I believe, as well.
Yeah. Which is kind of, like we said, Roberto Clemente kind of pushing the game forward as far as diversity because, he played in, I believe his bulk of his career was in the 70s, Frank Robinson. So you obviously still back then, you see, even though you had Jackie Robinson and all these guys coming through, but there was still barriers to kind of be pushed. So he helped with that. Unbelievable player. Obviously not, like you see with some of these guys, he didn't sign up necessarily for the fielding. He was a decent fielder, but the hitting was just off the charts. He didn't care. So Frank Robinson, I mean, he another guy that if you're not familiar with his stats, go look at him. High WAR, all that stuff. Number 2, like I said earlier, Hank Aaron. A really unfortunate loss to baseball. I woke up and that was the first thing I saw was that he passed the other day, and that was just terrible. And still,
it was shocking because you've seen him a lot recently, and you're like, this guy's still in relatively good shape, and then all of a sudden it was like,
yeah, because he was older, I believe 86, right?
Yeah, he's slow with the cane, but he threw out the first pitch at both Turner Field and SunTrust Field. Or I don't think it's SunTrust anymore, but still the new stadium.
Yeah.
I believe he threw it at the first pitch. So you can see he was still. And then I don't know, we don't really know what happened yet, but it was like shocking. I seen it, I was like,
yeah, I was like, really, man? Another one?
I was like, really? I was like, you really yuck, It's like, ugh.
He, in my eyes, is still, I think he's still the home run king. Barry Bonds obviously has the home run, he has the home run record, but get out of here with that. I think these top 2 guys are your home run kings. I think you already know who my number 1 guy is, but just to wrap up a little bit with Hank Aaron, I mean, hits, RBIs, home run, WAR. What else?
Base hits.
Yeah,
25-time All-Star.
Yeah, I mean, you've probably seen the stats rolling in since his death. You probably start to see on ESPN and LB Network them rolling out the stats. So like, just how truly great he was. I mean, you could find just about any stat from hitting to famous moments to him as a person. I mean, he was just he could do it all.
Yeah, I believe he started. He signed to the Milwaukee Clowns or something in the Negro Leagues, right? Wasn't he
Yeah.
As like a 17-year-old, and he had no money.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was it. Like he took all his money in his pocket and took the train to the town and played and I believe he got there and he played in his batting stance originally he had his hands flipped.
Did he?
The wrong way.
Like he was a lefty?
But he batted righty.
Yeah.
He had his hands and he hit like that for like a year or so, like in the Negro Leagues, I believe. And they're like, you gotta like maybe switch them. And then all of a sudden he was like, oh yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
So there's some stories there. I mean, he kind of was in all generations of baseball there. You're talking he started in the Negro Leagues, and we just lost him now. He kind of was like a melting pot. He kind of was everywhere.
Yeah.
And still had a big voice in the game, which is what you talk about with these guys when you lose them so early. It's like you're missing so much. You're missing their impact off the field after their career might be more impactful than when they played.
Yeah.
And that's what you miss. Baseball desperately misses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we have a whole one of the more prestigious awards named after him, Hank Aaron. And I think that his time in baseball was fulfilled with as a player as after. Obviously, I still think we lost him a little too early. But I think that what he did in baseball and post baseball, I think, is more than enough for a lifetime.
Yeah,
So,
and I mean, if you can just get these guys, I mean, if we lost some of these guys at 86, it would just be much better.
yeah,
At the very least.
yeah, I hear you. There's
You know?
a few guys here I wish.
Wish you could go that far, 86.
Yeah.
At least you filled up.
Yeah.
You
You
kind of
did.
filled it up. You had your timeline. You filled up your. You lose them at 50. It's like you had 30 something years. You just lost.
Yeah.
So 86, you go, yeah, you had 5-6 more years. You wish at least, you don't feel, you could feel worse because at least he had the full life. Is what you always ask for. So, but losing him was just a shock because you're like, wow, he was what was wrong?
Yeah.
Why?
There was no reason.
Like,
You
just grabbed a bunch of great pitchers. Your pitching staff was great. You really needed a better power hitter.
Yeah, for real.
You had some other good hitters up there.
Yeah.
Jeez. You need another one.
Yeah, come on, give him a few more. Jesus.
Yeah, you had all those great pitchers you took. Jeez.
Well, he already had one up there, who I'm going to get to as my number one, and that is Babe Ruth, who, I mean, I would probably put him number one in all-time players. If you had to make a top 10 players of all time, he'd probably be my number one. Obviously, you could find Hank Aaron had more hits, and he had more home runs, and if you want to, the RBIs thing, you want to, nitpick, I do think that you could make a case why Babe Ruth isn't your number one, but to me, personally, Babe Ruth saved baseball, revolutionized baseball, revolutionized stardom in America, revolutionized stardom for sport, for athletes, was just an overall unbelievable athlete in anything he touched. Obviously he had off the field issues, even some on the field issues. He wasn't perfect by any means, but I think that he is just everybody. If you're not a baseball fan, I think, maybe recent players you could factor in, but like if you ask one person on the street who doesn't even really watch baseball, name a baseball player, Babe Ruth probably comes to mind. He's got to be one of the first one out of your mouth. And for someone that played in the 20s and 30s and teens, I think that's speaks a lot. You could go on with the home runs, his slugging percentage, his OPS, his pitching stats, the infamy with his trade. I mean, wasn't it bowling? He won a bowling tournament the first time he ever bowled in his life.
Yeah.
I mean, you could make a whole episode of this show based on Babe Ruth. So I'm not going to go too much further on, especially because Frank still has his list. But I mean, Babe Ruth is my number one right fielder and would probably be my number one. I know that's like an argument that people don't like to hear anymore. Like the modern baseball fan don't like to hear the Babe Ruth argument. But I mean, how can
Too bad.
Yeah, how can you look at his stats and stuff and not tell me he's number one? At the very least, number two in your all-time right. If you want to put Hank Aaron above him, like, okay, I get it. That's fine. But like,
don't argue me. Don't come at me with hockey and tell me Gretzky's number one then, because you got to be tired of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like people really starting to with the Jordan stuff, they're kind of getting tired with that. And you see all the list, but if you're gonna be tired of Babe Ruth, you're tired of Gretzky, you're tired of all the great ones.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
so that's my top 10. I'm gonna let Frank get to his. Like I said, kind of at the top of the show. There's a lot of similarities, but
sure.
Yeah, you can do your top 10.
Sure. So just to go through some honorable mentions, we already heard some of these names. I got Reggie Jackson as one of my honorable mentions. Andre Dawson, the Hawk. Just want the quick thing with him. Fantastic commercial recent, years ago with the coming out of the Ivy. What year is it?
Yeah.
One of the few guys to win an MVP on a last place team, the Cubs.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So the Hawk. And still watched that Celebrity All-Star game a couple of years ago. Crushed the home run. Fantastic. Larry Walker, fantastic player. Thank God. Colorado doesn't bother him. Slaughter. We're going old school. Great player. Cardinals and whatnot. He played with a lot. There were a few teams, I think, at the end, a couple of years.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But Slaughter with the Cardinals, I believe, was his bread and butter.
Oh, yeah.
Harry Heilman. Go look him up.
Yeah.
He played with Babe Ruth like the years, so it wasn't like some of these guys.
Yeah.
Sam Crawford, all-time triples leader. Second, Ty Cobb, of course. But Sam Crawford, some really good numbers. And Big Bad Mad Vlad, I got on my honorable mentions. Vladimir Guerrero, Sr., he hit the ball off the ground. He actually did. I watched it live. I'm like, all right, that's fine. The only spot to pitch in this was down the middle because he couldn't expect it.
Yeah, that's true.
He threw the ball. What's that? AstroTurf, and he's out there. He's like, legs are like 8 foot long, and he was something else. Loved him. Never could get him out. But the Yankees and the Angels teams could never beat him. But I loved him. Like, look at him. Dreadlocks. He's big. He's goofy. He's hitting the ball in the mitt at San Francisco in the home run derby. Remember? He almost hit the ball in the mitt.
Yep.
Oh,
he sure
was
did.
something else.
Yeah, he was.
But to get into my list, my top 10, number 10, I got Dave Winfield. Maybe he's probably one of the top 5 greatest athletes we've ever seen of all time.
Yeah.
Bo Jackson thinks number 1, but Dave Winfield could have got drafted in any sport, and he almost did get drafted in every sport other than hockey. He didn't really try hockey, obviously, but other sports, he actually played. Basketball, he got drafted. Football, drafted. Baseball, drafted. He's the best.
Yeah.
He was fantastic, and he did everything. Bases, he still bases, RBIs, home runs. He was well-rounded Reggie.
Yeah.
He was huge. He was a huge guy. I mean, he was ginormous.
Yeah, he was a big dude.
But Dave Winfield's fantastic, and he's quite an icon. Number 9, Paul Wainer. He's an old school guy, and one of the guys I always have him. Always got a couple of these crazy guys on here. But
3,000 hit club.
Yeah.
So I mean, come on now.
And probably 95% of people don't even know who the hell is that.
Yeah, who's that guy?
Oh, hit 3,000 hits. All right.
Oh, that's right.
He was a 340 career hitter, wasn't he? Something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, he's fantastic. So. Number 8, Tony Gwynn. I got him down a couple spots. I mean, it's hard when we look at right field, but Tony Gwynn, obviously. The reason I guess you could drop him a little bit is because of his defense and his playing with the Padres. You don't really see the postseason excellence, but we already kind of went into Tony Gwynn. He's fantastic, and he's unbelievable, and it's a true crime that he got stolen from us. Number 7, Al Kaline. We lost him this previous year.
Yeah.
We actually seen his last appearance at Detroit, that's a remarkable moment for me.
Yeah.
To know that, and to actually get to see him was remarkable because it was we didn't know. We didn't even know about it.
No, we didn't expect it.
And all of a sudden, we're 150 feet from Al Kaline. You're like, wow, this is unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's Al Kaline.
Yeah.
It's Al Kaline. So that was a pretty crazy moment for us. But number 6, Ichiro, we talked about. I believe he didn't get his first walk-off hit until he was like 39 years old with the Yankees or something like that.
Yeah, that's true.
The one thing he never really did, and he finally got it, was the walk-off home run.
Yeah, I remember
walk-off
that.
hit. But fantastic. Again, we went into him, and no one ever be like him.
No.
Number 5, Melot. That's Melot. He's pretty good. Talked about him. We talked about all these guys. Number 4, Roberto Clemente. Where'd you have him?
Number 4.
Oh, that's right. Roberto Clemente was gone too soon and a fantastic player. And one thing, actually, we can kind of group with 3 of the last 4 guys here. Should they retire Roberto Clemente's number? You could. I think I wouldn't.
Yeah.
And my reason to that is I feel like you should retire Babe Ruth's number first. Just because when anyone wears 3, you're like, that doesn't look right.
Yeah, you always kind of think of Ruth.
Yeah, and you're like, that doesn't look right. Like, why is that? Why? You got to not have that. I feel like that's what they should go. And it's hard to just kind of retire numbers for every team because then you just start running out of numbers. So, could you? Sure.
Mm-hmm.
I could see the argument. But I feel like let's start it right. Let's start at Babe Ruth and we'll work our way.
Yeah, because, I mean, you do have to, the only comparison is Jackie Robinson. So you kind of almost have to meet that level. And I don't know if, not that Roberto Clemente doesn't reach a high level, but maybe not quite that level. Like, that's reserved for maybe for guys like Ruth and Jackie Robinson, guys that really, maybe down the line, there's consideration.
Yeah. It's like baseball, and these guys are hand in hand with baseball.
Yeah.
Like, Babe Ruth's baseball. Jackie Robinson, baseball. Like, you talk about baseball, those guys come right up. They're linked to it. Clemente, sure, he's linked, but I mean, these guys are like strong linked.
Yeah.
These guys are like, it's the things that you think of when you hear the word baseball. But if you want to make that argument, I see it.
Yeah, I don't hate the argument.
I'm like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Number 3, Frank Robinson.
I had him at number 3 too.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Fantastic first African American manager, and played a long time player manager. He did a lot of things. He was fantastic. I mean, and it just seems silly. We keep saying they're fantastic. They're unbelievable. What they are.
Yeah.
Number 2, Hank Aaron. We just lost him. I think of him as the second home run king. I'm getting to why. I actually have an autographed picture of Al Downing giving up the home run to break the record of 715.
Mm-hmm.
The hate he got
Yeah.
for breaking it.
Unfortunate.
And being African American and breaking it. The guy's running on the field trying to take his helmet. People saying that they're going to shoot him. Once he steps on the plate, they'll shoot him.
Yeah.
There's some crazy stuff. And he started his career in Negro Leagues and stuff like that. It's just crazy. 25-time All-Star. I mean.
Yeah.
And wasn't a dominant fielder. But he
No.
was good. But, I mean, you take all his home runs out, he's over 3,000 hits.
Mm-hmm.
Extra base hits, he has a record. RBIs, he has a record, so Pujols gets there. And all them home runs, he never hit 50 home runs in a season.
It's weird, right?
Never
Very
hit 50,
weird.
but had 756 of them. That's a weird number. And consistency was his thing. It was always his quote. He always loved consistency, and he had it.
Oh, yeah.
He had it. He was consistent every year.
Yeah.
So, and Hank Aaron's a righty. People, I think, forget. People are like, isn't he lefty? Just feels like Hank Aaron's a lefty. Just seems that way.
Yeah.
You get that. Like
I know
some
what you
people who
mean.
are baseball fans are like they top for a second, even if they know who it is, but for a split second they're like, what? He's a righty. But you're like, what? No, what?
Yeah.
So just, I know it sounds silly, but he's a righty.
Yeah.
It's
for some people that forget.
Some people are like, hey, he's left.
Hey, wait a minute.
No, he's righty. Because you got Ruth and Bonds and Griffey's up there and Jim Thome. Yeah, all these guys are all lefties.
Yeah.
Righty. He's righty. And number one, this guy called Babe Ruth, George Herman Ruth. He's the greatest baseball player of all time, and I don't think there's really a close second or third. And I think you could put him 1, 2, and 3, and then fourth would be like, he's not even close. But Babe Ruth's the greatest baseball player of all time. He's the greatest right fielder of all time. And if he would have just pitched, he'd have been the greatest pitcher of all time. I mean, he'd been up there with Cy Young, but he'd been right up there. Babe Ruth's unbelievable. His impact on baseball. He went to Japan. Baseball's huge in Japan. Babe Ruth went there. Babe Ruth pushed baseball in Japan. So there you go there. His
time.
impact on the game. He could do no wrong even though he did wrong. Like Mickey Mantle.
Yeah,
He punched an umpire in the face, and they're like, that's fine. It's Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
He beat the managers up and the owners and stuff for teams and the trains and the movies. Obviously not all that's real, but the concept is of him being arguing with them and fighting them and stuff. Did no wrong. He was Babe Ruth. He was the first players to have the number on the jersey. That's where he got 3 because he was the third batter. His quotes. I mean, hey, you made more money than the president last year. Well, I had a better year than him.
Unbelievable.
He had the big crown, the big cigar. Mm-hmm. He was unbelievable. He saved baseball in its darkest hour after the Black Sox scandal, and he's still the icon of baseball. He hasn't played in almost 100 years, and he's still baseball to the core. It's Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
I love Babe Ruth. Got the plaque. I got a whole bunch of stuff. Babe Ruth. He's you can go into his stats. There's no need to. If you don't know him, then I don't know what's wrong with you. But he's unbelievable. And off the field, his impact is, he had a troubled life as a kid and stuff like that, and even as an adult. But he still just could do no wrong. Fishing tournaments he won with the big marlins and stuff he caught, and the bowling tournaments and the golf. He loved golf. Won tournaments there. He was bigger than life. He was one of the bigger humans you were going to see at the time. Was 6'3". I mean, he was huge.
Yeah, he was a big guy.
He didn't work out that much. He had some workout regimens and the beer and the hot dogs and it's like, how? What?
Yeah, what's going on here?
Yeah, it's just Babe Ruth. I don't know. It's just, he's baseball's Jesus.
Mm-hmm. And if you want to be, because there is revisionist history, like we talked about with the Babe Ruth. I've seen a lot of people online talking trash about Babe Ruth. I don't agree with it, but if you want to get analytical about it, he has the all-time highest WAR with like 180 something, and it's not even close in second. So if you want to even get to the advanced stats about it, he's still at the top of the advanced stats. So
and slugging percentage.
Yeah, he's got that. What was it like?
857 or something for a career or something crazy like that. And OPS, he stole bases. He stole a lot of bases.
Yeah,
especially
especially
119 triples or something in his career.
Especially early in his career, he had a lot of those.
He stole home a bunch. He lost the World Series last out of the game, stealing home. Babe Ruth, what are you doing? Just stand at third. I'm coming home. Crashed headfirst into the brick wall. I thought he was dead. Reading his last rites out there. Got up, finally got him up. Got him back conscious. See, next inning he goes up, hits a home run.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, hits a home run in another state. He just did it all. Every story just makes sense. It's Babe Ruth. Every list, Babe Ruth's on. Every list. I don't care what you say, 3 home runs in a game, Reggie Jackson, 1977, How many guys done it? Well, 4 guys done it. Babe Ruth done twice.
He did it twice,
Even
of course.
Even when did something, he did it twice. Who has the lowest ERA in the postseason?
Babe
World Series. Babe Ruth. Pitcher. Struck Ty Cobb out.
You talk about home runs, he's on there. You talk about slugging percentage, he's on there. You talk about OPS, he's on there. You talk about RBIs, is on there. You find any weird stat, like who hit the most home runs at a 3 p.m., 4 p.m. start game on a Tuesday? Babe Ruth. Like, it's like you find
shot, with the grand slams and the iconic. It's unbelievable. It made movies and movies and movies about Babe Ruth because it's Babe Ruth.
Yeah, there's such a mystique.
Yeah, and it's just he could do no wrong. Even though he did wrong, and he had times in his career, his life, that he had things he punched an umpire. The guy he punched an umpire, the guy that came in through no hitter. Unbelievable. I don't tell you. These guys, he was just something else.
Yeah, he absolutely was. Absolute legend, legend of sports.
Yeah, and he's the home run king.
Mm-hmm.
I know Hank Aaron the most and Bonds with the steroids the most, but he's the home run king. It was his crown. He had it. He made home runs. He's hitting it with a beach ball because the ball had to be squishy because they don't have no. Bat he just ripped off a tree from. He just ripped that off and smoking that thing around.
Yeah.
He's got that. You watched the video, the quick little run.
Yeah, the run he had. Yeah.
And, twirl his hat. There he goes. It's like that's Babe Ruth. Everyone went to see Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
They didn't care who the hell else was playing.
Yeah.
Oh, Babe Ruth's up. All right, here we go. Babe Ruth. All right, made a home run. Let's go out.
Yeah.
Oh, Babe Ruth's back up. Come back in.
I can only imagine what the crowd was like back then when he came up.
Imagine walking in a room. Everyone just bow down. It was like the president's over there. Babe Ruth's right here.
Yeah, that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, just unbelievable. He was just, he's unbelievable.
Larger than life.
Yeah, he was, and he was just, and we lost him very early too, with the throat cancer and stuff, and he was 50s.
Yeah, it was. I think he was only in his 50s.
And you could see too when his last appearance at Yankee Stadium. He was shrunken.
Yeah, he was
shrunk. Took the life out of him. You're like, ugh.
His voice is rough to listen to.
You couldn't believe it. You're like, that's Babe Ruth. You're like, oh my God, you felt so bad because it was like that. How could someone like that be beaten up? It's like he's Superman.
Yeah, he don't get like that.
Imagine if he had 30, 40 more years of Babe Ruth, at least 30 years, because he's from early 1900s. But think about 30 more years of Babe Ruth in baseball. We're talking 1980s. He's around.
Yeah, right. Yeah, something like that.
Where would baseball be if we had 30 more years of Babe Ruth just alive? Imagine Babe Ruth 1980s. That's like saying Jesus is in the 1980s. That's the concept.
Yeah.
It's like the what?
Yeah, the savior of baseball. It
doesn't make sense. Babe Ruth. So I love Babe Ruth.
I know. We both do.
I just love Babe Ruth and his stats, and he's just a remarkable man. He got the nickname Babe from when he got signed to the Orioles. The players were like, well, that's the owner, Jack, I think, or Jake, or I don't remember the owner's name, but that's his baby. That's his baby. So they started calling him Babe Ruth. And he's like, well, watch this. Boom. 114 home runs later. And the quotes are just remarkable too. He was,
like I said, you could do a whole episode about the guy. He's larger than probably any player in baseball, and I mean, hard pressed to find other sports.
Yeah. I think he had the biggest impact on his sport than any athlete ever.
Yeah.
And I think he could be the greatest at his sport than any athlete ever. And there's a few names you can even throw to try putting on a list. And one, oddly enough, we get to see, and that's Tom Brady. You almost say, well, he's like one of the greatest at their sport that you've ever seen. But that's Babe Ruth, I think, is. And everyone liked him, except Ty Cobb. But everyone liked him.
Except Ty Cobb.
And it's everything. Everything about him was just like a storybook. Sold to the Yankees, and then the Curse of the Bambino, the nicknames, the Salt Swat. I mean, it's just remarkable.
Yeah, it goes on and on. It's just like...
It's just remarkable. So, he's number one on my right field list. He's the home run king to me, and he's the greatest baseball player to ever play, and it's not even close.
Yeah, I fully agree. He's my number one. He would probably be my number one all-time list. He'd be really hard to make an argument with me on why he wouldn't be. I see there are things that I hear, and I go, okay, that makes sense, but like to knock him down from number one is for me is tough. It just doesn't resonate with me.
Yeah, because your impact on the game will never match.
And he has the stats to back it up. It's not like, it's not like Jackie Robinson where his impact is so big that he's such a legend of the game because of his impact, while his stats are, admittedly, for Jackie Robinson, lagging. Where with Babe Ruth, he has that impact, but he also has how many records, in the game. So it's a little different. Babe Ruth is our favorite players, and I'm interested to see listening, if you guys would comment and your favorite players or your favorite right fielder or whatever. Who knows? Maybe you guys, Hank Aaron might be getting a little bump right now for you. Everyone digesting his stats and looking again at his stats and how great he was. Maybe he's up there for you. I don't know.
And you remember too, Babe Ruth, if he never pitched, what's his stats?
Oh, I can only imagine.
We're talking 800 home runs and 3,000 hits, and they didn't count RBIs for a couple of years of his career too. So if you count RBIs, he's got more RBIs.
Yeah, it starts getting muddy with that stuff too.
Give him today's bat.
Oh my God!
In today's stadiums are not 590 feet to center field, and boy, how far would he hit one?
Yeah, he would. He could. I wouldn't be surprised if he could hit it out of Yankee Stadium. That old stat.
He could hit it out anywhere.
Yeah, but that's our top. That's actually all of our top lists for players. We're gonna continue in the next episode with the top. We're gonna do top managers, stadiums, mascots, and uniforms. So just kind of some quirky stuff we're gonna continue with. We are gonna start doing the weekly stuff starting next week. The bi-weekly stuff is over. Now that we have some stuff to talk about with baseball, we have our off-season recap we're going to do. We're going to do our look ahead division by division, kind of how we started the podcast last year. We're going to do that again. So we've got about 9 episodes planned coming after this, and then hopefully, as long as there's no delay, the season will start April 1st. So we're excited for that. So Frank is going to hit us with some of the news because we kind of, because we recorded at a weird date with me being on vacation. We kind of missed, there's obviously trades and stuff we'll get to in our off-season recap, but there's some news that we got to go through, and then Frank's going to hit us with the trivia question. So I'll send it over to him real quick to finish this up.
Yeah, so we talked about the passing of Hank Aaron. We also, we lost Tommy Lasorda. We lost Don Sutton.
Yeah.
Recently. So we had some pretty hefty news there with some of the really legends of our sport. We had some big trades. I think we mentioned Josh Bell. Lindor got traded, to the Mets, and Talion traded to the Yankees.
Some signings with LeMahieu.
We've seen signings. We've seen even Ottavino get traded today.
Mm-hmm.
So we've seen some signings. We're not going to go into them right now because we have 2 weeks. We're going to have an episode that breaks down the whole offseason, and we're going to jump into this stuff. So,
yeah.
But just to throw it out there so you guys know, hey, these guys don't even know what's going on. We know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
There's some stuff going on around baseball, and we lost some legends again, which seems like we say it every week. And the plan is still for baseball to start on time, and they did turn down the original proposal for an NLDH this year and expanded playoffs. Eventually, the NLDH will be there for this year. I can guarantee it. The expanded playoffs, I believe there will be expanded playoffs. It won't be 16 teams like we've seen this year, or even 14. I think you might see 12. Which is fine. That's fine with me. I don't like any more than that.
Yeah, that's fine.
So we got some news coming up shortly in spring training, a couple weeks away. So really exciting time for baseball. And in our episodes here, we're going to go into that fun list that Mike said. And then we're going to go into off-season breakdown. And then division by division. And then all of a sudden it'll be the season. Hopefully.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So, but the trivia question this week is, again, regarding one of these 2 positions. The trivia question for the week is, out of the center field MVPs, all the MVP awards won from a center fielder, who had the highest WAR in their MVP season? Can you guess? Can you guess the player? Can you guess the season? And could you guess the WAR number? It's they're pretty tough. It's pretty tough to do. But I believe there was 20 center field MVP awards given out.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So it's a lot easier than some of our trivia questions.
Yeah,
but
I'll say.
Who has it? That's the question. Who has it? And so the answer is Mickey Mantle in 1957 with 11.3 WAR. You're gonna say, well, 56 won the Triple Crown. His WAR that year 11.2. So his MVP season in 57 was the highest WAR by a center fielder in their MVP season, single season, 11.3.
Yeah, that's when you asked me it, I immediately went to Trout just because I thought that'd be a stat that he already has for some reason. Because I know that he has, for his age, where he's at in his career, he has a high WAR. So I thought it'd be him, but then I was like, all right, well, it's got to be Willie Mays, Mickey Mantle, whatever. But I immediately thought of the 56 season because he won the MLB Triple Crown or something. I'm like, well, that's got to be it. But no, it was the season after.
By 0.1.
By 0.1. Who knows? Maybe he had extra range that year. I don't know. Something stupid. That's a good trivia question, though. The name itself might be guessable. The year, I don't know if is going to be so guessable. You know, we'll see. You know, when people get to listen and comment and let us know. So that's the lists. That's our 9 positions, our top 10 list 9 positions. You can revisit this list, and I'm sure over time things may change. Our thoughts may change. New players come in. Who knows? Maybe down the line we can make different lists, or maybe we could do a top 10 players of all time list in the next off season, or whatever we end up doing. But those are our lists. We're going to come back with the little quirky list next episode, and then we are going to start with the new season outlook and how the off season went. So unless that's it, and unless you got anything else, Frank, I mean, we can wrap this baby up, and we'll be back to our normal weekly podcast.
No, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, we hit all the 9 positions, and 10 really. Got the H in there, and
that's true. Yeah, 10.
We talked about some unbelievable players, and we talked about the top 10 greatest players at some point.
Yeah, and they're all in there. You just got to put them in a list.
Yeah, and these players, I mean, we probably talked about top 100 greatest players. We probably touched on in this list.
Yeah,
probably almost all of them. I mean, baseball just has a history that's just unmatched, and it has a thing you can look at it any way. In any way, every person looks at the game different in their history, and it could take you down way many different rabbit holes and how you look at the game and who you list here and who you list there. It's unbelievable, and we still have stats coming out and stats that didn't count, stats that count, and then sabermetrics. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, and for me personally, I mean, the Negro League stats are getting put in soon, if they're not already in, to the Hall of Fame, which are stats that I don't think it's going to change like any top 10 lists or anything like that. But you got guys like Josh Gibson and Satchel Paige are now going to be officially in stat books, and that's some stuff that I have to do a little bit of research on. These guys that I don't really even know about, Yeah. So even stuff like that, the like you said with the rabbit hole, there's stuff that even the most seasoned baseball historian, there's always stuff to learn. Yeah. And that's unusual for sports. I think that baseball has the biggest of that, and that's you can tell going to the Hall of Fames. I mean, we spent 6 hours in the Baseball Hall of Fame, and thankfully we were the only ones there. But I mean, there was
like space.
Yeah,
you feel like you have answers, but there's just so much other answers.
You find one answer, and then there's more questions that you find.
Yeah, and that's how baseball is. Like, well, what about this? Well, we got this. Well, you got this.
Yeah.
Well, what's that?
Well, Ray Schalk's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
What happened there?
Yeah. Trevor Griffith.
Yeah.
Sure. All right. Yeah. All right.
All right. Well, with Ray Schalk.
One more time.
Yeah, we can wrap this up.
Oh.
That's all I got. So thank you guys for listening. You can listen to this podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well as Google Podcasts. You can listen to this show regularly on our regularly updated YouTube channel as well as our website, screwball.podbean.com. You can follow me on Twitter at RealMikeLepre. You can follow me on Instagram at Mike Lepre.
And you can follow me on both at FDubs10.
You can follow our official Screwball Twitter at ScrewballPod. You can follow our official Screwball Facebook at ScrewballPod. No E in Screw. And that's it from us, guys. We'll see you next week.
Yep. Take care.